The courtroom was packed last night when everything suddenly exploded into tension. People were whispering, filming, and some even stood up in shock. At the center of it all was Chief Justice John Roberts, his face stern and cold as he dropped a massive $700,000 fine on Attorney General Pam Bondi. The air turned heavy the moment he said it. Phones lit up, people gasped, and within minutes the scene was all over social media. But it wasn't just the fine that had everyone talking. It was what came after. Pam Bondi didn't back down. She didn't flinch. She stood her ground, staring straight at Chief Justice Roberts. What was supposed to be a formal courtroom hearing quickly turned into something much deeper. Her voice didn't crack. It didn't shake. Instead, it grew stronger with every word she spoke. And as her words hit harder and cut deeper, something unexpected happened. Roberts started to break. The man known for his control and coldness began to lose it. What started as a routine fine ended up becoming something no one could have predicted. The courtroom wasn't just filled with laws and arguments, it was filled with heart, emotion, and truth that couldn't be ignored. The moment was raw, real, and unforgettable. It wasn't about legal wins or losses anymore. It was about someone speaking so powerfully that even the highest judge in the land couldn't hold back his tears. Pam Bondi walked into the courtroom with calm focus, holding her legal notes tightly. She didn't smile, didn't pause, just walked straight to her spot, like someone who knew what was coming but wasn't afraid. Everyone in the room seemed to sense the weight in the air. People shifted in their seats. Court officers stood a little straighter. Phones were out already recording. Then Chief Justice John Roberts looked up and without wasting time, he spoke. "You're a litigator, not a martyr," he said sharply, eyes locked on Bondi. His voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the room. You could feel how serious he was. The gallery went quiet. Even those who had been whispering stopped. Some officers exchanged glances, already sensing that this wasn't going to be a normal hearing. Pam Bondi didn't blink. She didn't step. "Hegwire." Her voice was steady. "I'm both, Chief Justice," she replied. "I fight for principle." The moment those words left her mouth, the room seemed to shift. It was no longer just about a case. It was personal now. It was about ideas and beliefs that were about to clash in front of everyone. That's when Chief Justice John Roberts raised the stakes. He called out a violation in Bondi's argument, something tied to a past case, a fictional ethics issue. Without hesitation, he dropped the fine, $700,000 for contempt. The number echoed in the room like a punch. Some people gasped. A few looked around, unsure if they had heard it right. Phones started recording again. Some hands covered mouths. The tension rose fast like a storm rolling in. Bondi's eyes didn't waver. The fire in them burned brighter. The fine may have landed, but it didn't scare her. If anything, it lit something in her and everyone could feel it. The courtroom wasn't calming down. If anything, it was heating up. Pam Bondi stood taller now, her voice cutting through the silence that followed the fine. She didn't yell. She didn't shake. But her words hit just as hard. Looking straight at Chief Justice John Roberts, she said, "You don't grasp my fight." There was no anger in her tone, just something deeper. You could tell she meant it. She wasn't defending herself. She was speaking for something bigger. Chief Justice Roberts didn't flinch. He leaned in slightly, voice sharp and steady. "You're here for chaos," he said. No room for debate, no softness. His words weren't just meant to scold. He was drawing a line. It wasn't just a legal fight anymore. It had turned into a battle of beliefs, and both of them were locked in. The room reacted immediately. Some people in the gallery leaned forward, like they didn't want to miss a single word. Others turned to each other and whispered. The tension was now something you could almost feel in the air. Court officers noticed too. Their radios flickered. Some shifted positions. They were ready for anything. Pam Bondi didn't back away. "I'm here for those your laws forget," she said. That line hit hard. It wasn't aimed at just the Chief Justice anymore. It was aimed at the system, at everything she believed was broken. Her tone was firm, but her eyes showed something else, a deep frustration mixed with belief. Chief Justice Roberts replied without hesitation. "You're a headline, Ms. Bondi, not a lawyer." It was personal now, not just about rules, but about who she was and what she stood for. The words were meant to hurt, to push her back into line. But they didn't work. Instead, the room got even quieter. People could feel the shift. Officers stood more alert. Phones stayed pointed forward, capturing every word. What started as a fine had now turned into a storm that wasn't slowing down. And the fire in Pam Bondi's voice wasn't dying, it was just getting stronger. The courtroom had already been tense, but now things were shifting fast. You could see it in the way Pam Bondi stood, shoulders back, eyes sharp, but her voice carried something new. It wasn't just calm defiance anymore. It was emotion. Real, heavy, impossible to ignore emotion. When she looked at Chief Justice, John Robertson said, "Pay? I'll pay with truth," the words echoed. They didn't sound rehearsed. They didn't sound like politics. They sounded like pain and fire and heart. That's when Roberts shot back. His voice still steady, but the edge was sharper now. "You're a performer, not a litigator," he said. His words weren't just cold. They were meant to cut. It was the kind of line that's supposed to shut everything down, to remind everyone who's in charge. But that didn't happen. Instead, the room changed. Some people in the gallery stood up. Phones were held higher. You could hear the quiet clicks of cameras rolling. The room was no longer just watching, they were reacting. Hashtags were already flying online. People were posting clips with captions like "Bondi's fire" and "She's not backing down." It wasn't just a hearing anymore, it was a moment being broadcast in real time. Pam Bondi didn't let the insult sit. She stepped forward just enough to make it clear she wasn't done. "I'm their voice," she said, strong and clear. Then softer, but even more powerful. "You're learning." The words weren't loud, but they landed hard. It didn't feel like a comeback. It felt like a message, not just to Roberts, but to everyone listening. Her voice cracked just slightly. At the end, not from weakness, but from how much she meant it. Some of the court officers near the wall exchanged quick glances. One leaned toward another and whispered, "She's building to something." They could feel it too. This wasn't heading back toward order. It was going somewhere bigger, something that couldn't be controlled by rules or gavels. "Chief Justice." Roberts sat up straighter. He raised his voice, trying to regain the room. He banged his gavel once, firm and loud, a clear attempt to take the spotlight back. But it didn't work. The noise of the gallery didn't fade. Pam Bondi didn't flinch. She stayed locked in, eyes forward, heart open, and the fire still growing. Whatever power Roberts had at the start was now slipping. The more she spoke, the more people leaned toward her. And as the emotions in the room kept climbing, it was clear he wasn't the center of the story anymore. She was. The pressure in the courtroom was thick now. You could feel it in the way people held their breath, in the sound of phones buzzing quietly in pockets, in the eyes of the gallery that didn't look away. Pam Bondi stood in the center of it all, not just as the United States Attorney General, not just as a lawyer fighting a case, but as someone speaking from something deeper, something burning. Her voice cut through the stillness like a blade. "I'll shake this court," she said. "My fight's for the forgotten." The words didn't echo because of how loud they were. They echoed because of how real they felt. The forgotten. The people left out, pushed aside, ignored by the same system that now tried to silence her. Her eyes didn't move from Chief Justice John Roberts, and for the first time that night, the balance in the room shifted again. Not from power, but from conviction. Chief Justice Roberts straightened his back, his voice trying to take back control. "You're disruptive," he said, his tone hard and clipped. But it was the kind of hard that sounded forced. It didn't hit the same way it had earlier. The courtroom wasn't moving toward order. It was moving with her. Pam Bondi stepped closer, not physically, but with her words. "I'm their shield," she said. "Their strength." The way she said it wasn't dramatic, it was raw. It was someone who knew what it meant to stand in front of pain and not look away. People in the gallery began to react. Some murmured to each other. Others just stared. Then a few clapped, quiet at first, then louder. It wasn't wild, but it was real. It was support that couldn't be ignored. Phones went up, camera lights blinked. Someone whispered, "She's going viral already." Another voice from the gallery added, "She's speaking for all of us." It was no longer a courtroom drama. It was something unfolding in real time, spreading through feeds and timelines. People weren't just watching, they were choosing sides. Roberts raised his gavel slightly, trying to stop the momentum. "Ms. Bondi," he said sharply, "that's enough." But before he could bring the gavel down, his voice wavered. Just a little. A crack. Small, but enough for the whole room to hear. It wasn't just a break in sound. It was a break in control. Pam Bondi didn't miss a beat. Her tone stayed calm, but now it held something fiery. "Your fine's cold," she said. "My fight burns alive." She didn't yell it. She didn't need to. It was the kind of line that sticks, the kind that spreads, the kind that doesn't ask for permission. And right then, the courtroom didn't belong to the Chief Justice anymore. It belonged to the moment, to the fire she brought with her, and to every person watching, inside and outside, that felt what she was saying. Pam Bondi stands before the courtroom, her emotions barely held in check as she begins to tell a deeply personal story. The words tumble out with raw sincerity, her voice trembling as she speaks of a family that had been utterly failed by the justice system. She paints a picture of a mother, a father, and their children, whose lives were destroyed by a mistake no one was willing to correct. Her eyes shine with unshed tears as she recounts the endless struggle, the unanswered calls, the system that turned its back on them when they needed it most. As Pam speaks, there's a shift in the room. The gallery begins to react. Some are standing, some are wiping away tears, and many are pulling out their phones to capture the moment. It's no longer just a courtroom. It's a place of emotional reckoning. The weight of her words fills the air, the pain so real and palpable that it feels as though the walls are closing in on everyone present. Chief Justice John Roberts, visibly moved but trying to remain composed, interrupts her, his voice unsteady. "You're overreaching," he says, the authority of his position hanging in the balance with his words. Pam pauses for just a moment, collecting herself, and then she responds with a calm but powerful declaration that echoes through the room. "I carry their scars, you can't find my heart." Her words land like a heavy blow. The room falls silent for a second, and you can almost hear the collective breath of the people inside the courtroom. Roberts, still shaken, speaks again, his voice soft but firm. "You're defiant." But it's not the cold, detached reprimand one might expect. It's more of a resigned acceptance of the force Pam is bringing into the room. And that's when Pam's voice rises, strong and fierce, her anger and grief now entwined in every syllable. "I'm their justice," she roars, her words reverberating with a sense of urgency and righteousness. "Feel their pain." The room, which had once been tense with formality, is now gripped by something else: empathy. There's no denying the power of her words, the truth in the fire of her voice. Everyone present feels it, even if they're too afraid to admit it. Pam has brought the human cost of the broken justice system into the very heart of the court, and it's impossible to look away now. The moment Pam Bondi finishes her powerful statement, something shifts in the room. Chief Justice John Roberts, who has maintained his usual calm composure throughout the trial, begins to lose his grip. His mask, the one he's worn as the unflappable leader of the court, slips. His voice falters for the first time as he looks at Pam, his eyes betraying the emotions he's been trying to hide. "You've shaken this court, Ms. Bondi," he says, his words soft, almost disbelieving. It's clear that something in Pam's story, her fury, her passion, has cracked the firm foundation he's built for himself. The gallery, which had been silent just moments before, erupts. Some in the crowd are crying, overwhelmed by the pain Pam has stirred up, while others are cheering, rallying behind her as if they've witnessed something profound. It's a chaotic mix of emotions, sadness, anger, hope, filling the space, as the tension in the courtroom reaches its peak. Pam doesn't let up. She knows exactly what she needs to say to drive her point home, to make sure her message lingers long after the trial is over. With one final cutting line, she declares, "My fight's beyond your gavel." The words hang in the air, their weight felt by everyone in the room. Pam is no longer just fighting for one family, for one case. Her fight is for everyone who has ever been let down by the justice system. It's bigger than any single trial, bigger than any decision this court could make. Roberts, his voice still, shaky, murmurs quietly, "Your point's made." It's not a victory for him, and it's not a moment of finality. It's an acknowledgement that something has shifted. Something inside the courtroom, something inside him, has changed. The room falls silent. It's not the kind of silence you'd expect after a verdict is read. It's a heavy, almost reverential silence. No one moves. No one speaks. The air feels thick with the gravity of what just happened. For a moment, it's as if time itself has paused. The officers in the room, usually steadfast and unmoving, are frozen in place, unsure of what to do. One whispers to another, "She broke him." And outside the courtroom, the world starts to react. Social media explodes with reactions. Clips of Pam's impassioned words spread like wildfire. News outlets pick up the story, and soon, everyone is talking about what just happened in that courtroom. People on both sides of the debate are struck by the sheer force of her presence, the honesty in her voice, and the way she turned the tables on the court that had once seemed so untouchable. What was once a courtroom drama has now become a cultural moment, one that will not be easily forgotten. As Pam Bondi walks out of the courtroom, she holds her head high, her dignity unshaken. Her final words echo in the air as she exits, "I spoke for the forgotten." It's a quiet, powerful statement that leaves the room in a stunned silence. Outside, the world is reacting in real time. Social media, especially X, formerly Twitter, and TikTok, is on fire. Clips of Pam's most intense moments are looping across screens, spreading like wildfire. Memes and reactions flood timelines, and hashtags like "Nabrigu she flipped the courtroom" and "Roberts cried" start trending. People are captivated by what they've just witnessed. The courtroom drama has become something much larger, a cultural event. The internet is divided. Some critics argue that Pam is simply grandstanding, using the pain of others to make a name for herself. But there's a growing group who sees her as a voice for the silenced, someone who stepped up when the system failed. The debate rages, on with people either applauding her bravery or questioning her motives. Analysts are quick to weigh in, calling this moment a turning point. Bondi changed the courtroom dynamic forever, one expert says. It's clear that her words and actions have left a lasting mark, not just on the case at hand, but on the way people see justice. As the dust settles, one thing is certain. Pam Bondi's platform is only growing. Her next move is already on everyone's mind. We'll be watching, many say, eagerly awaiting what comes next. If all this has left you thinking, there's one last thing to do. If this shook you, hit subscribe. Don't miss the next fire. The call to action rings out, promising that the story is far from over.